Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Grammy-winning brothers Stephen and Ziggy Marley salute their father, Bob Marley, in a special celebration tomorrow at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia. I spoke to Stephen about his father's biggest reggae hits like Jammin', One Love, Three Little Birds, Get Up, Stand Up, Redemption Song, Buffalo Soldier, I Shot the Sheriff, and No Woman, No Cry. Hey, Stephen Marley, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Yeah, brother.
We appreciate you joining us. We're talking because Stephen Marley and Ziggy Marley are going to be performing at Wolf Trap. A salute to the great Bob Marley. The whole thing is going to be a celebration of your dad's music. It's sort of like a greatest hits show.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where you call it great. All of his songs are great hits to us. So it's just a celebration of his life and music, you know?
That's a good point. You're right. It can't be the greatest hits when everything's the greatest to you. Have you ever played Wolf Trap before?
Yes, I just did a private show there a few months ago, as a matter of fact.
Great. Awesome. And we should tell everybody you're currently on a tour bus, right? But I think that's cool for our interview. You know, it's like, you know, you're touring the country here. This is the sounds of the road, folks. So, you know, enjoy.
Yeah, this is the life of a musician.
Yeah, exactly. So where I bring that up because, you know, where all are you traveling around before you get here to Wolf Trap? Are you taking this Bob Marley celebration? You know, is it like a touring thing?
No, well, I am on my tour, which is called Babylon by Bus, you know, which is a tour of the States here. But I just left Minnesota, heading down to Virginia now.
Awesome. So you're doing your own tour and, you know, Ziggy's doing his own stuff, but you guys are going to come together for this.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Well, I want to know, before we get into some of the songs, you know, tell us a little bit what it was like, you know, you and Ziggy, you know, what was it like growing up and, you know, being the sons of someone so famous? I mean, his face and songs are known worldwide and you're his son, but what's it like growing up with someone so famous?
We didn't really know growing up about the fame part of it. You know, we come from Jamaica. We come from an island. It wasn't really about being famous. It's really about his purpose, you know, his cause and his message. You know what I mean? And growing up in that household with such a vibrant, both parents are musicians, and you know we grew up in a musical home. You know what I mean? But when it come on to a father, we never really think about the fame. It's really after he was gone, and you know we see the world respond to him in that sense that we know the magnitude of him. But you know, it's all about his message to us and what he stood for.
And how would you describe that message and what he stood for?
Well, is a man definitely love, you know, equal rights, you know, just love for all humanity, love for all mankind and God's creation, and he was very spiritual, you know, in that sense, and that was what he was about, you know, love for everyone. He said he was not on the white man's side or the black man's side, he was on God's side, you know what I mean? So those are the things that we grew up with, just being a spiritual family.
Oh, absolutely. And you can hear it in a lot of the songs. I'm just like, you know, One Love, for instance. Tell me about, you know, how he came up with that song. Did you ever hear, you know, about where he was when he wrote that? I'd love to sort of hear some behind the scenes stories on some of these songs.
Not that particular song. You know, that song was from the 60s, actually. And then he redid it to the one that became more famous. Not a cover. He did it over. He had an original version, which was more 60s. One love, ska, one heart. And then when reggae came around now, because we came from ska to rocksteady to reggae. So he had a version of One Love, which was the original version. And then he redid it in reggae, which again is the version that most people know now, you know?
Right. He sort of covered himself and updated it. Updated it for a new genre. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as One Love. But I mean, I've been around for like Could You Be Love and those songs that were in the latter part. You know, we were, you know, always running around, and he would always try to get us to sing harmony or, you know, play something along with the song. That's how he was. If you were around him when he was writing a song, you would have to be involved. You couldn't just be there.
Yeah, you get in on here and take part in this thing.
Yeah, nod your head, do something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the music is just it's so inspiring. We mentioned One Love. Tell me about Get Up, Stand Up. Why do you think that one is so inspiring? I mean, that will get anyone to want to stand up for their rights, and it could be applied to pretty much anything political. But why do you think that one works so well as an inspirational one?
I think, again, as you said, the message in that song, for anyone and everyone to stand up for, everyone has a right to life. Everyone has a right to decide their destiny, as he would say. And, that's what that song was about. And I think everyone relates to that, just, being human and having your own outlook on life and such forth, And when that song was written, there was definitely a big movement in the 70s, a big rights movement. So that's how that one came about.
I love it. And remind some of our younger listeners, maybe, sticking with the social themes a little bit of your dad's music, but remind our younger listeners about just the power of Buffalo Soldier, how that song, it really talks about some important history.
Yeah. You see, the younger listeners have to listen to the lyrics of Bob, listen to his words. You know what I mean? Because as you say, there are so many lessons in his songs that sometimes the song itself, the melody and thing, you kind of get caught up in just the whole music and the vibe of it. But the words are so important, And as you say, Buffalo Soldier is telling us of the history of these soldiers that came to America from Africa and was fighting in that war at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me about I Shot the Sheriff. We've heard that covered so many times, Eric Clapton, etc. But man, that is what's one of the most famous songs of your dad's. But talk about what he was going for with that. Did that cause any controversy, or any good stories on I Shot the Sheriff?
I don't know if it caused any controversy because definitely Eric Clapton took it and kind of brought it to mainstream, which you know what I mean, is always good. So I don't really know if it caused any controversy, so to speak. But his motivation behind the song probably totally different than what people think, right? Because it's not a literal song. Like he didn't shoot anyone in that sense, right? But with the music, the way he thinks of his music is as a tool, and so to speak. So I heard him say, boy, he had a problem in his own group, like in the group at the time, and that's how he said he had to shoot the sheriff. So I think Bob would have to tell you more about that himself, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. So it was a little turmoil in his own group. It was a little more of a metaphorical as
yeah, and he said,
I got you.
Exactly.
It's not NWA police stuff. It is a metaphorical. No. I shot the sheriff. All right. Gotcha. I never knew that. I love that. Well, let's talk about some of the more fun songs. We've gone into the real social commentary, deep stuff, but your dad could also do, and you guys, you and Ziggy are gonna, rock us at Wolf Trap with some really fun, upbeat stuff too. Tell me about Jammin'. Why is that one so much fun? I mean, everyone probably sings that along in the crowd with you, right?
Oh yes, indeed. Jamming is a unique one because the when you listen to where he started that song from, it was more like a jazz song with jamming and the chords changes and all of those things was more reminiscent of jazz, and he was really into jazz chords, and he was into that type of music. So that's where that jamming thing came from. We're jamming kind of more of a jazz jamming kind of vibe,
I love it. I love it. And possibly my favorite, I wonder if you could guess which one I'm going to say, but I think my favorite, it just makes me smile, is Three Little Birds. It's Just
I was
because
gonna guess that.
you're probably, I'm sure you hear that from everybody ever that talks to you. They're like, oh, that Three Little Birds. I'm sure it's not
Yeah.
novel for me to say that, but I think just speak to why you think that is so universally loved. I think, for me, it's just like, no matter what's going on in your day, you could have had the hardest day, and
Yes.
there your father just comes on the radio or on Spotify
Yes.
nowadays, and it's just saying, don't worry about a thing. Everything's gonna be all right.
Yes. Yes. Definitely the simplicity of the song, and that again, that universal message, that uplifting message that everyone needs from time to time, that don't worry, no matter what you're going through, it will pass, and we will get through this. But most of all, I think it's just the simplicity of the song, and Bob too. He was very simple. He was a simple man.
Absolutely, a simple man.
Yeah.
And well, in a similar thing is, No Woman No Cry. I'm all the hits are just popping in my head now, but No Woman No Cry is,
Yeah.
man, that's another one that can be that is, Don't Shed No Tears. I mean, it's similar to Three Little Birds, but that,
Yeah.
it little picks you up off the ground and dries your tears for you. I mean, talk about, do you know where your dad was when he wrote that, or why did he write that
Yes.
about a particular woman, or
Oh
what was
yes.
it about?
No Woman No Cry. He's talking about where he's from. I remember when we used to sit in a government yard in Trenchtown. So he's really talking about where he's from, and kind of the struggles and losing good friends along the way. And actually, when he was writing the song, there was with a lady crying, and it's real. He was really trying to soothe a mother. No woman no cry. So it's really telling where he's from and what was happening around him at the time.
Oh wow! And what's that line in that song? There's in this great future, you can't forget your past.
Yes, indeed, indeed. I always remember where you're from.
Always remember where
On
you're
the
from.
road you travel.
I love it. Well, you're traveling on the road while you're speaking to us, and I'm surprised the connection is doing as good as it is. Great work, Stephen Marley. Maybe only time for one more. Tell me about Redemption Song. That is just one of my all-time favorite songs. But any great stories behind the scenes of how he came up with that?
Well, I mean, Redemption Song. I don't know if you know in the Bible the story of Joseph, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
the Bible, there's a story of Joseph, and that song is kind of derived from Joseph. And my father was born in February, which is the tribe of Joseph. So there's a deep connection there to him and himself. He was shot, and Joseph was thrown in the pit by his brothers and things. So that song is a very deep song. And there's two versions of that song. There's a version with the band, like full version, and there's a version with just him and the guitar. I don't know if many people know that too.
I bet a lot of our listeners probably don't know that, but now they're all,
Yeah.
the second that they heard this, they're now all racing onto YouTube to find both versions.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to go through all those songs. I'm sure you've talked about them a million times. And you know what? If this was just you or Ziggy's concert, I probably wouldn't even put you through that. But since this is a special case at Wolf Trap where you're doing a Bob Marley celebration. So I think it works on this interview.
Of course. Yeah, man. Thank you, brother, for having me again.
Thanks for doing this. And before you go, remind our listeners, just real quick, plug your own career and Ziggy's career for that matter. What else? You guys have anything else going on coming up? Separate from this celebration for your dad?
Yeah, we're both in the studio. I'm working on a kind of acoustic unplugged record called Old Soul, and Ziggy's in the studio as well, working on his stuff. And it's a whole legacy. You know what I mean? So. It's a whole family. There's Damien, Julie, all of us, So one's just check the legacy and keep in tune with what the family is doing, you know what I mean? And we appreciate love everyone and the love that they have shown us over the years. And we will continue to spread the message of love and unity,
Oh yeah, and you guys are Grammy-winning, brothers yourself. You're worth seeing just for your own musicianship. But it's gonna be really cool to see you, performing for your dad. And do you ever? I guess let's final seconds. We'll leave it on this one. Do you ever, not to get too spiritual or anything, but do you ever sort of feel his presence or at least his legacy, around you when you guys are on stage performing and
Oh,
stuff?
yes, man. Yes, indeed, 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 indeed. I think that's what makes it special, and I think the people will feel his presence also, not just hearing his music, but they will feel him, I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to get too Rastafarian spiritual,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like you opened the interview, it is all about a vibe and a collectiveness and you're gonna uplift everyone that comes to. So it is a spiritual sense.
True, true. It is. It is.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to the tour bus, but I really really appreciate you taking us time to call in with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks again, too, as well.
All right, we'll see you at Wolf Trap.
All right. One love.
One love. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.